All right, so my name is Joe Zach. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Illinois in Chicago in the Department of Biological Sciences. And as a neuroscientist, I teach courses in both the Department of Biology and Psychology here. So one of my focuses is on the sensory perception laboratory and how we perceive different environmental stimuli through our senses.
What advice would you give to your undergraduate self?
I would tell myself to seek out mentors and form lasting connections with them. You never know where your interests are going to take you in the future and the connections you're going to need to fully explore those interests.
What does your research focus on?
Yes, my research focuses on how our past sensory experiences influence our future perceptions of the world. So in other words, what do we learn about a stimulus and how does that change how it's detected by our sensory systems? And in particular, I'm interested in the sense of smell. And as you'll learn in this chapter on olfaction, our sense of smell is deeply connected to emotional and memory centers of the brain.
What type of opportunities are there for undergrads in your lab?
Right now, I have three undergraduates working in my laboratory, and we're working together to build experimental equipment, to train mice to perform sensory guided tasks. And hopefully, those that stay in the lab over several years can contribute to published projects or help to develop work of their own independently. I try to be very hands-on with my undergraduate students and give them one-on-one input of the logic and the theory behind each experimental approach. Give them some backstory of how the technique was developed historically, and then sort of walk them through the steps, sort of a linear fashion of how you go from thinking about the experiment to actually getting your hands on a piece of brain and doing the research that's in front of you.
When did you know that you loved neuroscience?
So I'm a neurophysiologist by training, which means that I'm interested in the bioelectricity produced by the brain. So the first time that I saw action potentials being recorded from a neuron in a slice of living brain tissue, I was mesmerized and completely hooked on understanding how brains communicate with these electrical signals. So from then on, I knew that neuroscience is what I had to do for my career going forward. So I took 2 years off between my undergrad and graduate school, and I worked as a postdoc at the Jackson Laboratory in Bar Harbor, Maine. And there I got some really wonderful mentorship and hands-on experience doing electrophysiology. And it's really what crystallized my interest in neuroscience and made me realize that an academic career path is what I wanted to pursue going forward.
What do you like most about teaching neuroscience?
Yeah, so some concepts in neuroscience I think are inherently abstract, but I wouldn't say that they're prohibitively difficult for really any student to grasp. So one of the most rewarding moments for me is when I see students understand how it's sort of all tied together. Those aha moments where everything makes sense and the larger picture comes into focus. And that really drives me to share my fascination with the brain to students at all levels of neuroscience.
If you were not a neuroscientist, what would you do?
Yeah, so this is a really funny question because I've never really had a sense that I would do anything else. The last job that I had where I wasn't doing neuroscience, I was a lifeguard at a public pool when I was an undergraduate. But I suppose if I wasn't a neuroscientist, I'd probably be pursuing the other things that I like to do outside of my time in the lab, which is making a go of being a professional ski bum or some sort of outdoor enthusiast.